G'day everyone, Prep Aussie here. I hope you're all well in whatever part of the world you're watching this video. Today is Tuesday, the 31st of July 2018, and the time here in southeast Queensland is 09:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Well, by collective force, YouTube was forced to made to reinstate SGT Report's channel, as you all know. I had no illusions from the beginning that was going to happen, by the way. And the reason I say that is because I think it was a test by YouTube to see just what would happen if they did so. You know, I've spoken to Sean on an email yesterday or the day before in regards to how he's going to how he should move forward after that, because it would appear that YouTube's backed itself into a corner, because if you take a channel down and then reinstate it, then basically you're agreeing to everything that channel says in some circumstances. So Sean has a bit of an open ticket at the moment to he doesn't go over the line anyway, but he's now a little bit freer than I guess he was beforehand. Sean and I have agreed to do an interview, hopefully this week, maybe next, depending on times, because he's obviously in America and I'm in Australia. But we've agreed to actually get that done now, so you'll just have to wait and see when that happens. I'm not going to advertise it obviously beforehand, so we'll see how it goes, and I'll get it done, and hopefully without any interference from Skype or Gmail or anyone else, we'll actually get it achieved this time. I haven't done any interviews since I did Dr. Dave Jander, because of the fact that my system wasn't secure enough and they could easily tap in and change things and etc. So I've got to do some work with Simon in the next couple of days to hopefully figure all that out. As you know, here in Australia we had the by-elections on Saturday, which they called Super Saturday. I don't think there was too much super about it. The staggering statistic out of that was it was the lowest voter turnout in Australian history, and believe it or not, they're shocked. So the crowd that run the government as regards to that are actually flying off the handle, and they're going to send summons to everyone, because I don't know whether you know this or not, but it's illegal not to vote in Australia. It's mandatory, you have to vote, but a lot of people don't, to express their anger. I haven't voted for years, haven't been bothered. There's no one to vote for. They're all the same. They're all crooks and criminals, and I'm not going to vote for crooks and criminals. And I would probably say 70% of the Australian population feel the same. There's staggering numbers from, as I said, it was the lowest voter turnout recorded in Australian history for the 4 by-elections. That should tell you something about how screwed up the Australian electorate is, because, you know, we're losing big time at the moment to these corporations, etc., and they want to screw us even further. And we've just had enough. People have just had enough, and the politicians don't understand this, by the way. They just do not understand it. You know, but no one showed up to vote, but they're still going, yay, we won, we won, we won. Well, you didn't really, because you haven't focused on the Australian population who hates your guts. That's the simple truth of it. We actually hate their guts. They're a bunch of namby-pamby, punsy, bloody, lying, cheating, deceiving, decrepit arseholes. And that's about as good as I can say it. And there's no one that does anything anymore. No one. They don't do anything for anybody except themselves. They give themselves massive pay rises and make sure they've got a pension when they come out of it, and all the perks that go with it. It's just ridiculous. They recently changed the laws because Australians were getting so pissed off. If you retired from Parliament and you'd done 10 years or something, you got free flights everywhere in Australia. Why? Just all that malarkey. So I want to show you something that you'll find interesting and why people are pissed off. This is the headings in the business section in the ABC News today. The first one is, feel like you're financially treading water? That's because most of us are. And I'll go into that one in a minute. And read the second one. The lights are flashing red as growing numbers of families face bankruptcy. Now, just hang on a second. Didn't they just tell us a couple of weeks ago that everything was honky-dory? You know, the economy's booming. We're making so much money, we don't know what to do with it. They're going on a big splash cash, doing infrastructure projects all around Australia, spending gazillion dollars here and there. Everything's rosy. Then if that's the case, how come so many Australian families are going broke? And how come, as I'll show you now, one second, how Australian families are not even getting near the required income to sustain themselves. And it actually says it in this chart here. The latest instalment from Melbourne's Institute Study of Household Income and Labour Dynamics, or HILDA as it is affectionately known, shows a typical Australian household hasn't seen their post-tax real income rise noticeably since 2009. But as I said, everything's A-OK as far as the Parliament's concerned and the government's concerned. You know, you don't have to be an Einstein to work out that people are really struggling. You know, and the government's got their head up their arse. All these companies have actually tripled their incomes since 2009, and the Australian people, or any people working anywhere, have not. Now I want to show you something underneath this. Just hang on a second. I'll scroll down for you. It's this one here. The change has been particularly stark for men aged... Sorry, I'll go back a bit. 1 second. Underemployment jumps as men lose full-time work. So I'll do that again. Underemployment jumps as men lose full-time work. One of the contributors to stagnating household income has been the rising prevalence of part-time work and underemployment. But hang on, things are booming. The report's author has observed that while Australia escaped the worst immediate effects of the global financial crisis, we did not. It marked a turning point for the labour market from which workers have never fully recovered. From 2001 till 2008, employment participation had been rising and unemployment had been falling, they wrote. Since then, the labour market has been relatively flat, with the proportions of men and women unemployed remaining below their 2008 peaks, and the proportions unemployed remaining above the 2008 trough. The change has been particularly stark for men aged between 18 to 64. Well, that's a pretty big... They might as well have said 1 to 100. 18 to 64, for whom the part-time employment rate rose just over 10 to approximately 14%, while full-time employment slumped from 73.3, now get this, percent in 2008 to 67% in 2016. That's a big drop, folks. Although the full-time employment for women aged 18 to 64 was also slightly down on its pre-GFC peak of almost 40%. So these things that I'm showing you around the world that financially tell us that the world is in a shit basket or a shit handbag and it ain't going to be worn too much longer. You've just got to read statistics like that and look around your local area and the people that you know. Excuse me. You'll know someone in your direct family and that who's unemployed or has gone from working full-time to part-time. And it's not just one or two, it's a lot. In my street, there's more men now unemployed or underemployed than ever before. Ever before. And if you get out of work after 45, forget it. You're likely not to get another job unless you can start your own little business doing something. It's that bad. Now, take that forward a little bit. Have a look at all the women you know who are now having to work part-time, full-time jobs to make ends meet for the family. And you'll find it has just gone through the roof. You'll know every second person you know now has a family member working full-time to actually make ends meet. So these figures are not these things that I'm showing you over time, and I'm going to do a little bit more on in the next couple of days. They're not pie in the sky details, folks. And this is what I keep saying to you. There is no coming back from what there was before. That glorified unit of, we're all getting this together, and that's gone. And the cases of men being underemployed and unemployed are massive. So much so that blokes don't even bother trying to get the dole anymore. They just give up. And it's the same in America. So, these times are not going to pass quickly. And I've just shown you that families applying for bankruptcy in 2018 is the highest levels ever. But then you flip the page and they're saying, oh, well, employment's great and wages are great and blah, blah, blah. No, they're not. This is why no one voted. This is why the massive voter mass turnout of non-turnout in these 4 by-elections was the biggest ever, because people are sick to death of this shit. Sick to death of it. We're sick to death of the lying, the cheats, and the deceivers. And please send this video around to all your family members, because we need to get this word out there, and we need change. We need to make change, because here's how it works. You don't go vote, you get fined. What people need to do is send it back, say, I'm not voting for lying, cheaters and deceivers and that. Fuck off. Simple as that. That's what everyone needs to write on these forms when they send them back to them. Yeah, sorry, I'm underemployed and unemployed. I don't have any money and I'm not interested in voting for these crooks. F off. Again. So look, that's my little rant for today. Let's do the prayers. Okay, folks, verse of the day. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. I'll read that again. It's such a good one. Basically, what this is saying is that show people the right path. Be good over evil. And shine your light on the world. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. And as always, folks, we'll end with the Lord's Prayer. And you probably need to say this with some conviction, folks, because there's a lot of brothers and sisters out there that are just hurting, eh? There's patriots out there that are just suffering. So say this with them in mind. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.